All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Beyond Boardroom Business. I'm telling you, I am your host, Coach Stephanie, and I have an amazing person that's up next. So please bring in your family, your friends, get that notebook, get the pen, computer, whatever it is that you take notes from. This gentleman is amazing. And I mean, it's just so many different talents that this young man has that wait till you find out. You will be so amazed. So without further ado, let's just get it going. So again, welcome to Beyond Boardroom Business. Please hit the like, please share, leave some comments, and let me know what you would like to hear next. So without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Ink Resin. How are you tonight, sir?
Wow. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you. I'm doing well.
All right. And your bio blew me away. You are so talented and so humble. And
Oh,
that's when it's sincere, So thank you. I really appreciate that, first of all.
indeed. Indeed.
So without further ado, tell us, who is Ink Resin?
Okay. Well, I was born in Greenville, Mississippi,
Okay.
1971. That makes me 53 years old today. Or not today, but at this time. I moved to Los Angeles with my mom in the late 70s. So during the early 80s and the hip hop phase of Los Angeles, I'm one of the first generation B-boys. So I was that kid breakdancing, the first generation tagger, the young MC, the young aspiring DJ. And for the most part, I stuck to the script. I said to myself that I was going to be fresh. That was the word back then. I was going to be fresh in sixth grade, and I think I'm the freshest at 53 that I've ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
That's
So you
that's me.
so you were one of those original break dancers. I used to watch that on the big screen, and wow, that takes a lot. I mean, does your body feel it now, or how was
Well,
it?
so that was back then. Now, that's one of the elements that I did put down. So I don't still break dance. I probably would be broken. But I still DJ. I scratch vinyl records. I still produce music. I'm still an MC. I'm still a graffiti writer. So breakdancing is the only one that I don't still do.
Wow. Now tell us a little bit about graffiti.
Okay. Well, let's see. I started off writing. The name that I initially had was Dare One, Dare, Dare One. I was in the sixth grade, and so at that time we used to develop our tags, and we'd find stuff to write on. We waste a lot of computer paper. We used to use stuff like shoe polish, anything that we could find to write on and write with. That was the nature of it in the beginning. Fast forward to current times. What I learned for myself is that graffiti really was a form of like calligraphy, hieroglyphics,
Yeah.
and we were font creators, we were letter creators, we were letter benders. All in all, I ended up becoming a commissioned artist, and I ended up doing a lot of spray paint murals for music videos and feature films, city organizations, school districts, and things like that. So it served me well. So hip hop and all the elements, if we pay homage to them, then they pay us back.
Wow. So how did you get started with art? I mean, I know it's natural, but how did you know that you were standing in your calling?
All right, man, cool. I like this. Okay, so in Mississippi in the early 70s, okay, there was a magazine that was called the TV Guide for some of us that are old enough to remember it. So in the TV Guide, they used to have this art contest that was in the back of it. And I
Yeah.
think it was Timmy the Turtle. It was like a pirate that you could draw. I forget the other things. So I have an aunt named Pam. I might have been maybe 3, 4, 5 years old. And so my aunt Pam used to draw for the contest, but she wouldn't submit it. And I remember telling her, Aunt Pam, that looks good. Aunt Pam, that looks good. So in actuality, I used to watch my Aunt Pam draw, and that prompted me to start drawing. So I
Wow.
entered an art contest in the first grade. It was like Energy Conservation Week, and I remember I drew like a chef, and he was pointing at the thermostat on the oven, the 375, the bake at 375, and I won the blue ribbon. And I was like, "Yo, I can draw." It really started from that. When I won that first blue ribbon prize in first grade, I said, "Yo, I could draw."
It was official.
It was official, and I kept it going. And when I moved to Los Angeles, that's where the hip hop part of it came in because I could draw, but then the style that I have now it developed in the city of Los Angeles. I would say ultimately by the time I got to seventh grade, we all used to sit around and draw like a lot of the artists would sit at the lunch tables, but then it was like it was hip hop time. And then we started to change up our sketching and change up the way that we drew, and it went in that direction.
Okay. Wow. And I mean, it's taking you like to Disney. I mean, they've even hired you. That's amazing.
Indeed, it is. It's quite a blessing. I was doing. I was commissioned by the city of Inglewood to. They were putting up murals in the city parks. And so
Okay.
I had become the graffiti artist for the city of Inglewood through the Department of Parks and Recreation. And so I was doing one of the murals, and they had Radio Disney out there and a couple other sponsors. And there was a lady from Walt Disney Corporation that was there, and she was observing. And after the end of me painting the mural, she came up to me and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. Do you mind if I give you a call later?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So she ended up giving me a call, and she brought me out to it was a charter school that they were putting up a mural of a sister named Juanita Tate, and she was a community activist. And
Okay.
so they handed me a picture of Juanita Tate and said, "Can you draw this on that building?" And I said, "Yeah, yes, I can." Um, so they had a pretty decent budget. They paid me well. I was able to get a scissor lift and all the spray paint that I needed, and so that's how I ended up becoming a Disney vendor is through the city of Inglewood and through them bringing Radio Disney out to one of the events that I was painting at.
Wow. So, how do you take a drawing from a sheet of paper to a wall? Is that math, or how do you do that?
Graffiti artist secret. Well, sometimes, okay, it depends on what the surface is. If by chance it is a block wall, okay, so I'm gonna give you the science on it. Depending on the cinder blocks. If Los Angeles uses a lot of cinder blocks, so the cinder block dimensions are 6 inches by 8 inches by 16 inches, and
Mm,
so it almost makes it like graph paper. So if you look at the bricks, but it's a lot of this. Honestly, it's you'll look at your paper, and
I
then you
see.
look at the wall and look at the paper, and then you kind of visualize like if you do air writing and you're doing a math problem like this.
Okay.
What's happening in well, I say in my mind, but in a lot of us graffiti writers, that's what's happening in our minds. Is I'm looking at what I sketched. I'm looking at the wall and the lines on the wall, and I know this is the math. They're 16 inches long, and then you come with a can of spray paint and you just kind of start rough sketching it. And you nip and tuck at the rough sketch until you get the rough sketch how you like it, and then you actually start to add the colors
I
afterwards.
see. So, could you create tattoos too? Is that the same eye?
It is. There was one period of time where I did work in a tattoo parlor. It was slow for me because I would only get paid if someone utilized what I drew. So what I ended up doing was just drawing a bunch of stuff.
I see.
The guy would come in and say, "Hey man, can you make this? Can you draw this?" And I'll draw it, and then they'll be like, "I'm cool, man. I'm gonna use this out of a book." But it's the same thing, meaning most tattoos they're drawn. There's some type of sketch that's made first, and then the tattoo artist would transfer that sketch almost like a carbon paper or like carbons to a checkbook. they'll transfer that sketch onto the skin, and then they'll trace over the skin, trace over that sketch.
Right. Okay. Okay. I was just wondering. So my next question is, let's talk about your art, your creativity with carvings. How did you get started with that?
All right. So with regards to carvings, I would say it may have been the mid to late 2000s. I had become acquainted with the Ifa community in Los Angeles. Um, and so I was going that route, and there's a lot of things that you could do when you're dealing with the spiritual community. Most people end up doing some type of healing. Some people go into doing readings. Some people go into doing the ritual aspect of it. But what I saw was that there was a deficit in the wood carvers. The majority of the people that I knew, they were here in the United States, and they would send their monies off to Nigeria, and they would get their intricate wood carvings from Nigeria, and they'd either wait for the wood carver to send it back, or some. I'm not going to say sometimes it didn't come back, but it was quite a thing or an ordeal to deal with another country, and then you're sending, your funds over there.
Right.
So I studied wood carving. I mean, I was a carpenter by trade anyway, and it's just a different tool set, and I practiced and worked on certain things until I revealed that, hey, I'm the wood carver. And so I started to become the carver for the babalawos, the ianifas, the priest, the priestesses, and the different people.
Wow. I mean, because the pieces that you find, I mean, you were talking with me earlier about how seek out the best of the best. I mean, that takes a great
Mhm.
eye. It takes experience. I mean, how did you obtain that gift?
Well, I would say for me, I like to study things. So what I researched was I remember researching like the energy of different woods. So I ended up choosing or going with African mahogany for my wood of choice, um, based off of its ability to absorb and or retain moonlight. Because a lot of the spiritual practices they deal with moonlight or moon phases or things of
That's
that nature. It finishes well also. African mahogany, it finishes very well. Meaning, once I'm done with the carving and I, sand it smooth and then apply, uh, I would use boiled linseed oil, and it just brings out those
true.
reds and the fires in the woods. Um, I've done a couple with ambrosia maple and maybe one or two with cedar, but there was nothing like the actual spirit of African mahogany for me. It would bring the whole carving to life, and then the customer would truly appreciate that finished product.
Wow, that is awesome. Now, I heard that the plants and the trees, they sing, that you can actually attach an instrument and hear the melody. Have you ever heard about that?
Well, when it comes down to the woods, once I completed anything that I carved or created out of wood, there's a certain tone.
Mm,
Whether if I'm knocking on the wood carving, I don't go. I'm not going to go too deep into the music, but there's certain notes that each wood makes, depending on how thin I carved it, how thick I carved it, how dense that piece of wood is. Certain instruments that are made, they're made for the purpose of percussion to call a spirit. So if I were to shake the instrument, it's got like a little metal rattler inside. There's a certain note that's created by the tone of the metal clanking and it knocking against the wood. Um, so that's where it came in for me. In addition to being a sound man and putting stages together. So a lot of those things ended up tying in together as far as the different skill sets that I've had in a sound man and going into making percussion instruments, the shekerays or the kalimbas, like which are the thumb pianos. Um, so everything that I do or that I have done, it actually kind of ties in together. Everything daisy chains, like I go from one talent to the next talent, and they're all really integrated.
wow, that's really incredible because you really master everything that you're interested in.
I
And
try my best to.
I mean, you're not trying, you're doing. So
Indeed.
congratulations. I mean,
Awesome.
because you have a great customer base. And, you know, as you were describing how you know how deep or how thin, I just would never think about anything like that. That really takes a lot of thought. So
Indeed.
I see now why it's worth the value of the pricing, you know?
Indeed.
Yeah. So, do you do any other kind of creativity with wood or with carvings outside of the instruments that you create?
Yes, I'm actually. So when I finished high school, I went to Los Angeles Job Corps. So at the Job Corps, I became a carpenter by trade. So
Okay.
that's how I got started in life. I was actually a. Well, they taught us many things. They taught us how to be the course that I took. Let me slow down. The course that I took was called HBI, Home Builders Institute, and in that course, what they taught us how to do was to be a general maintenance man. I particularly liked carpentry the most, but they taught us plumbing, electrical, drywall, carpentry, locks, windows, just kind of how to be a good maintenance man. And so
Okay.
my first job that they hooked me up with, I worked for a property management company, and I was a maintenance man. And, so I would go into the vacant apartments after you moved out, and I would do all of the repairs, whether it was put in a garbage disposer, fix the window, paint it, fix the drywall, if there was a hole punched in the wall, or change the locks, change out the light switches, whatever the work order called for.
I
And that's
see.
how I got started.
Mm, wow. Okay. I mean, it seems like it's just one situation after the next that just unfolds for
Yeah,
your journey.
yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
I
powerful.
appreciate that. I really appreciate that because in hindsight, I can see that
Yeah.
that's the way that life uh, handled me. You know, I would just kind of I can go from one thing to the next, and I was able to I say be wise enough to find a good segue. But always art was included in there. So from that carpentry and me knowing me being comfortable with all the tools, that's how I ended up getting into wood carving. Saying, man, I can make that carving. I just have to use this tool in this way, other than in that way.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, all the trades, the skills that you learned along the way, you know, they don't teach those. They used to teach trades in school and they took them out. And
Oh yes,
yeah, it's something that really they need to bring back to the
please,
schools.
please
Yeah.
bring it back. Yeah, because I've been really been able to sustain myself. I
Mm.
mean, I'm doing good. I have a job. I have a clock I can punch now. But I went 15 years without punching a clock, just doing art stuff. And
Wow.
so I would urge, the youth, or you have to be youth, meaning learn a
Right.
trade, because the collegiate route is not for everyone.
That's
I'm not
right.
knocking it, but it's not for everyone.
That's
And you
right.
can make a great living with a trade,
That's
knowing how
it.
to fix toilets, knowing how to fix light fixtures, knowing how to hang mirrors for Miss Johnson down the street, whatever it is, landscaping,
That's right.
cutting grass, anything. There's a lot of things that can be, achieved by being a hands-on maintenance person or a landscaper.
I totally agree. Wow. So, how did you become a producer?
Okay. All right. So let's say we're gonna go back to hip hop. So in the 90s, okay, 90s hip hop. All right, I got it. Good segue. So remember the TV show Moesha, right?
Yes.
All right. So on Moesha, her dude, when she was going with Q used to
Mhm.
go to a place that was called the High Life, right?
Yeah.
In real life, the place in Los Angeles was called the Good Life.
Wow.
So that show mimicked a lot of what we did as the Los Angeles underground MCs and B-boys. So Crenshaw and Exposition was a spot that was called the Good Life. Down the street was a spot that was called Project Blowed, Blowed. And those were the two places, if you were trying to call yourself an MC at
Okay.
any kind of way, you had to be at those two spots. People would come from around the world.
Wow.
Record labels would send spies. They would send their new up and coming artists. They would send people. But the good life was the place. So that's where I developed myself as an MC. So Ink Resin is actually my MC name. I
Okay.
was right there at one, and then I started rapping more, and I ended up coming back to graffiti. But Ink Resin was my name on the mic. So that was my name. I mean, I still got rhymes, but that was my name on the mic. Um, so at the Good Life, this is a place where you would develop your talents. It's like you sign a list, you go up and you rap. No cussing, no dissing, no leaning on the paintings.
Okay.
Just like so, Andale on the show, she mimicked the true life person. The real
Wow.
lady's name, her name was Ifa Sade.
Wow.
Ifa Sade owned the Good Life. The Good Life was a health food cafe, and a sister named B Hall and her son Arcane Blaze, or we call it Rod. They implemented the hip hop phase. It was a little stage that was in there, and
Okay.
so B Hall and Rod pretty much went to If I Shot That and said, "Hey, can we do a hip hop workshop in here on Thursday nights?" So boom, whatever you saw on Moesha, that was mimicking us. It was
Wow.
called the Good Life TV show called The High Life. It was
Mm.
Andale on that show. It was Ifa Sade in real life. And so
Wow.
I'm actually one of the Good Life MCs. So there's a Good Life MC and a Project Load MC, and pretty much those were the MCs that came out of Los Angeles that you may know of today. Some of them made, hit records and got record deals and stuff like that. But those were the two training camps that we had as far
Wow.
as getting into hip hop, into that phase. So back to the production. So most often you would sign a list, and then Arcane Blaze or Rod, he would just play a track. He would play an instrumental, and you would rap over whatever he played. But then, I said, I'm gonna start making my own beats. So I started buying equipment a little piece at a time, and blah 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 blah, a little piece of this, a little piece of that, until I ended up with like a full production studio and started making tracks and buying this piece and that piece and this mixing console and that console, and that's
Wow.
how that started.
Okay. And so you're working on a movie currently. You want to share that information with us?
Indeed. Okay. A few years ago, I connected via social media with a brother named Chicago Chris.
Okay.
I was in Los Angeles. He's from Chicago. He's
Okay.
an old graffiti, not an old, but an older graffiti writer. And he does films and things of that nature here in Atlanta.
Wow.
Here in Atlanta now. I'm an LA dude here in Atlanta. So he designed a denim jacket. Like a lot of graffiti writers, we create art on the back of denim jackets like canvases. So he
Wow.
purchased a denim jacket from me, and I created his likeliness or his livelihood, his film career, from his writer career to blah blah blah. Whatever he told me, this is what I came up with, and I drew the artwork on the back of the jacket. I
Wow.
shipped him the jacket from Los Angeles to Atlanta. I ended up in Atlanta because COVID stuck me in the South. That's another story for another time. But COVID stuck me in the South. I was doing something in Memphis, and I ended up having to shelter in place. And so I ended up settling on Atlanta. So I'm gonna go ahead and live in Atlanta. Then I remembered, oh man, the dude that I did that jacket for, he lives in Atlanta. So I hit him up, and then he was like, I ain't gonna say around the corner, but he wasn't too far. So I connected with him. We took a couple of pictures. I took a picture with him in the jacket and him, me, and blah 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 blah. Um, so I was able to do some wood carving and percussion instrument making
Wow.
set design for a show that he was producing. We never lost touch.
Wow.
So I'm currently putting together a lot of different art pieces on a hip hop level for my debut art show here in Atlanta.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So Chris saw a certain part of what I was doing. I'm doing this thing with old scale model trains and having graffiti writers write their piece on the train and ship it back to me. We curate that part. So when Chris saw that part, he hit me up and said, "Yo, Rez, yo man, that's dope. Can I shoot that?" Oh, okay, yeah, you can shoot it. But what the conversation actually ended up turning into is that, hey man, I'm gonna shoot you a treatment. Here I have a team that wants to get involved, and what I'm seeing is a 4 episode, you know, pilot, and we have access to a lot of channels that
Wow.
we can submit it to. So if you don't mind, and it's basically that's where it is now. So a couple of treatments have gone back and forth. I'm writing some scripts. I'm going to end up doing some stop motion uh, creation stuff with these model trains that I have here.
Okay.
So it's going to come together in a nice way, but that's how that part ended up coming about. So it's in production or pre-production right now. We're just passing treatments back and forth and going over script and getting the writers involved. I have 30 graffiti writers from
Wow.
San Francisco to Los Angeles to Texas to Atlanta to, I would say, maybe 4 of the 5 boroughs in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, and then I have a cat that's in British Columbia up in Canada. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So
That
this
is beautiful.
so
Wow,
this
that is beautiful.
so this is an old scale model train. So each of the 30 writers, I'm gonna ship them one of these, and they're gonna do their art on the side of it, back to me, and then that's gonna be a part of the solo exhibit. But this is the part that Chris and them want to shoot.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Trains.
Wow, wow. I mean, you're just so gifted. And you're a photographer as well, aren't
Yes, ma'am.
you? Are you a videographer too?
I have done some stuff. I'm
Okay.
getting to the point where I can say yes. I'm a director of photography. So when I grow fully up, I'm going to say I'm a director of photography. I've shot I would say maybe 3 music videos of my own. One that I would consider like, man, that's a nice one. Some of them were like me just editing stuff on my tablet here. But actually, one I actually went out and I had 2 additional cameras. I had 3 locations. I shot it. I edited on was it Final Cut Pro. I did subtitles. So I actually went the whole way. I scored it. Music. So I'm
Wow.
getting my feet wet in that. So that's where I'm going to learn from Chris from that part, meaning that I'm going to eventually be able to say resident director of photography.
How about that? How do you find time to create more talents? How do you do it?
Man, okay, let's see. Nas, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. I don't. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody who wants to be healthy, but I have a 9 to 5. I work at Home Depot. I'm a manager of plumbing and electrical department. As soon as I get off and I get home, I get right on to, whether I'm drawing some stuff, whether
Right.
I'm touching these trains, whether I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
whatever extra time that I have where I'm not sleeping, I utilize it to the best of my ability to promote me, to do something to further me. I eat, I cook, I get in the kitchen, I can cook pretty good.
All right.
That's about it. I cook, I take care of myself, I go to work, but whenever I have my own time, it's all about res.
So now we got to add chef to the resume as well.
That's true. I mean, when I came to actually Atlanta, um, I had a girlfriend at that time, and her business was she was primarily a caterer.
Okay.
And so I could cook, I'm from the South, so I could cook anyway. So I had started sneaking a few things onto her menu, and then, we should do meal prep. Then the people started ordering my stuff, and then we were catering events and stuff like that. So that was part of the first things that I did in Atlanta was that I started off as a sous chef, and then we were equal chefs.
Mm, mm, mm. Wow.
Yeah, we were cooking out here.
I mean, you are just so gifted. What kind of advice could you leave the listeners and viewers to the other people that are gifted like you are and haven't touched or tapped into their greatness yet?
Man, always believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself. Mind over matter.
Yeah.
If you can think it, if you can imagine it, if you can view it, if it showed up in your dreams, it's for
Mhm.
you. You can do it. Don't
Wow.
I'm not gonna say don't accept no for an answer, but a no from one person, a no from 30 people, a no from 50 people, that 51st person is a yes.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know?
I always say no means next opportunity.
Hey, great. I'm gonna use that. You have a
That's
copyright on that, do you? I'm gonna use that.
no, go for it. Go for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, next opportunity. Indeed.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I would love for you to come back in a couple of months so we can catch up with you
Indeed.
and see what's going on because you stay totally involved in all of the activities that you're gifted and skilled at. So, how can people find you?
You can find me. Okay, I have a website. The website is www dot dark dark resin rezin arts.com.
Awesome.
Instagram, you can Instagram at inkresin inkrezin. Facebook.com/inkresin inkrezin. Inkresin at Gmail, inkrezin. And if you're special, I'll send you my phone number.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ink
Indeed.
Resin. I really appreciate
Humble.
this show. I love everything about you. I mean, you definitely tapped into all of your callings, and I'm sure you have much more to go. You're just getting warmed up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I'm going to be I'm a student for Coach Stephanie, so I'm going to be learning a lot of things from her. We've
Thank you.
connected outside of this arena that we're on right now, so
Yes.
expect more from us.
Yes, definitely. I enjoy as a business strategist because that's what I do full time. I
Yes, ma'am.
enjoy working with clients like you. That's why I had to pull you onto the show so
Thank
you
you.
can help show others that there is a way. Where there's a will, there is a way.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Look
Yes,
forward to
ma'am.
seeing you again. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Indeed.
All right, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, ink resin, you can't go wrong. Research him, find him, contact him, and tell him I sent you. But man, please. I mean, he is just so gifted and he's so sincere with who he is. You can't go wrong. Please send this to your friends and family, anyone, especially in the southern region. You got to contact him. He's the real deal. I hope you all enjoyed this. And again, I'm Coach Stephanie, your host on Beyond Boardroom Business. Look forward to seeing you again next week at the same time. And until next time, stay patient, stay persistent, and definitely stay prayerful. Thank you.